Very interesting. Are we live? I see
We
the
are
live in the
live.
corner.
We're live.
Hi, everybody. We are live. Hi. This is CLCI, Certified Life Coach Institute. I forgot where we were. There's so many crazy backgrounds going on at the moment. And we are going to be talking about stuff that Jerome's going to tell you about because I'm not doing it this week. I want to remind you guys to like, share, comment, all of that good stuff. We are monitoring comments. I'm going to turn it over to Jerome, introduce everybody, and I'll introduce myself later.
Thank you, Brooke. So, as Brooke went ahead and passed over the gavel to me, I'll go ahead and let you guys know. Just we'll touch on it. We were discussing prior to actually going live. We think we're going to go ahead and freelance. It's been a little while since we've had a bit of a freelance floor, so we're excited to go ahead and tap into that. This is we'll call this the pregame to Brooke's birthday. We want to let you guys all know. You'll be hearing about it, of course, throughout all our platforms tomorrow. It is Brooke's birthday eve, so we're excited to have her, and we're just gonna have some fun with her today. So we will be speaking about uniqueness and authenticity, and really wherever our brain goes from there is where we're gonna take it. So my name is Jerome. We're happy to have you guys here, and I will let the rest of the crew introduce themselves with whoever wants to take it first.
Well, have it. And nobody volunteers until you call their names.
All right, there you go. Lisa's turn.
Don't all volunteer at once, guys.
I'm Lisa. Welcome. We're always grateful for your participation with us as we do our lives. You help fuel some of the most interesting directions we go with this. Please be doing that today as well as we talk about how we're unique in coaching, marketing, and the like. Thank you for being here, Dan.
Hi, thanks for that throw. Just that silence was like the crickets I hear on a Friday morning of day one of like, hey, what do you guys think?
Now I know how it feels. That sucks.
Yeah. I'm Dan Alexa, lead facilitator instructor for Certified Life Coach Institute. And I will embrace my inner weird over the course of this conversation and let it come forward. There's lots of stuff to share in that space and how to make things different.
I'm in denial about it, just saying.
Being weird?
Guys, I'll go now. Hi, my name is Anthony Lopez. I am the content writer and editor and et cetera, pirate for CLCI Live. And I will be making weekly joinings with CLC Live now, so I'll be a regular part of the broadcast, and I'm embracing my unique pirate self.
Arr.
Yeah.
Does that make you the right R?
Yes, right R.
It does. It most certainly does.
Did I do the voice the whole live?
As long as you have the hat on, I think you have to.
No, okay, I'll be doing the voice. I won't be doing that. It's gonna hurt. I'm gonna lose my voice by the end.
I have several pirate jokes, but we won't go there. Lisa?
It's your turn.
Is it? Did you already introduce yourself, though?
I did.
Yes, she did.
I missed it. My turn. Hi, everybody. I'm Brooke. I am Chief Operating Officer at Certified Life Coach Institute, and I am a weirdo.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I'm sure.
Thank you.
Oh, I think we all are. We'll probably talk about that.
Yeah. So, what makes you guys weird?
Birthday tomorrow.
Yeah. So everybody, 1, 2, 3, and we're not going to worry about if we can hold a key.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh my gosh.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brooke, dear Walters, MCPC. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
I'll be including that in the blog post as well.
The whole song? Like. Thank you, guys. I'm shy now. I'm very shy. So what makes you guys weird?
Apparently you're singing because none of us held a key really well.
What's a key? I have no idea what a key is.
It's a key. It's the thing that goes in the door, right?
Exactly.
Well, I don't have that anymore, so I'm not sure I'm aware of that. Mine's a keypad.
That makes life easy, right?
Especially since you're absent-minded lately. Not you, me specifically. Anyway, so our inner weirdness, what makes us unique in our coaching and or marketing?
Or anything. I mean, we can get real here.
Yeah.
Personally, I think what makes me weird, and I've heard it from those around me, I am a sandal guy, and
What?
sandal. So sandals, I'm a huge fan of sandals.
Oh.
I love them to the point where I will take them to the snow sometimes, even where I just refuse to wear shoes sometimes. Not that I don't own a pair of shoes or anything like that. I very much enjoy free toes. That's I
Our
think
listeners,
something that
please
makes
donate a pair of shoes to Jerome.
There's several stores that are buy one get one free even.
I've seen him in shoes though. He's got nice shoes.
Yeah, no,
Got
yeah,
some nice shoes.
He
yeah,
prefers it.
I've been trying to grow up a little
I
bit
think
there.
Jerome was wearing pink pants the first night I met him. It was a pink shirt. It was pink. Something on him was definitely pink.
Wearing pink shorts right now.
Yep, so there you go.
Maybe that's what makes me weird is my fashion sense. I'm not very, I don't look towards anything in particular to replicate. I like to kind of honestly freelance it just as we're doing this right now. I love thrifting. Thrifting's awesome.
Thrifting is awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, Jennifer Schneider, by the way. Good to see you. Hello.
So in marketing, what the way that could be a benefit is that you're
We have to talk about work now.
back to work. Is that you're very comfortable, laid back, down to earth kind of person, has no pretension, and a lot of potential clients want to work with someone that's not a stuffed shirt and what their mind is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we think about marketing, how do you highlight that in a marketing concept?
We take pictures of his feet.
There you go.
No,
Because if I were
we're not trying to market to those clientele.
Oh my gosh.
Well, okay, so
That caught me off. Okay, moving on.
if we're going to talk, if we're talking marketing, of course, being able to show Jerome as being laid back and that kind of person, we would then just build his brand to that sort of, sorry if you hear the thing, to that theme, to that feeling, if that was what he wanted, of course. And we would put that foot forward, like Dan and his Hawaiian shirts.
That is, strangely enough, a big part of my brand.
It is, I know.
between the Tommy Bahama shirts and the Robert Graham shirts, there's the laid back lifestyle brand, and then there's the upscale Robert Graham. And which one do you get? You kind of know which one is showing up depending on what shirt I wear.
We were having a talk about this recently about how you're doing a talk coming up here soon, and you were like debating, what do I wear? Do I wear a suit? Do I not wear a suit? Mm-hmm. And it was of importance. And I think I said, don't wear a suit. Don't do it. Like, you can wear, at least if you're gonna, we can wear a suit jacket, but don't do the tie. Keep it unbuttoned. Roll up the sleeves. Keep that feel.
Suit with the Hawaiian shirt underneath.
No, yeah, I don't think the suit with Hawaiian shirt.
I have a feeling I'm going full on Robert Graham for that one. We'll do the Robert Graham shirt with the turned up cuffs and the contrast. And
nice, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So knowing that about yourself, what is that? How are you marketing who you are to your clients? What does that mean?
The thing that I'm thinking of in this space is actually a little bit slightly different, because the Robert Graham shirt speaks to the higher level client they're super expensive shirts. Okay. That's all I'm going to say, and I don't spend full price for them. I'm going to say that too. They're incredibly expensive.
Okay.
But there's parts of my website that's in redesign right now where I'm wearing the Robert Graham shirt to stand out because they're really stylish. And there's others where I'm more laid back and casual depending on what the tone of the page is. But in this whole space of what makes my friend Hayden, who's an MCC coach here in Los Angeles, he has a phrase, what makes you weird makes you money. Mm-hmm. And find a way to embrace your inner weird and bring it forward. The coach that I hired last year in our very first meeting, as we're developing rapport, he says to me, what don't you want me to know about you? Mm-hmm. And I felt safe enough with him to share a thing that I don't talk, particularly in professional circles, I don't talk about it a lot, which is I grew up in a house that was haunted. And I used to hear people calling my name, all kinds of weird stuff. So there's this spiritual side to my business coming from all that from a kid. And then there's the business side of my business, which was me and sales and marketing and everything else. And I always treated them as two separate things. And he listened to it. And at the end, he's like, asked me this really incredible question. It's like, so if I reflect this back to you, what do you hear? And just through his reflection and adopting the word magic into it, it's like, magic is seeing things that other people don't see. And suddenly these two separate spaces came together for me. And I fully embraced that part of myself that I had always said was something else. My ability to see systems and just understand how things work. And that's part of what makes me weird. Now it's the angle going to my clients of, what are you not seeing that I can help you see?
And that's, I mean, and that, again, that's, I think what this speaks to is us being whole beings. Because I think the reality is, in truth, we aren't all that weird, right? We are all very alike, and we all have our bits and pieces of ourselves that we, however, for some reason have been told that's weird, don't show that to the world, or you know what I mean, or that should be kept here, that should be kept there, let's keep those separate, you don't want that. But I mean, in truth, we all have those things, right? We all have those moments, and that's important. Jerome, I see you wanting to say something.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, before we move away from using the word weird, because it seems like we may, what makes CLCI weird, you think?
Oh, 3 days. Oh boy, does 3 days make us weird. The many conversations I've had about 3 days.
I think the other thing that makes us weird and stand out is that we have prided, I know it's not a word, but been proud and pride driven in the process of being vulnerable. It is important for all of us when we are together, when we're teaching, when we're participating with our learning, even that vulnerable piece is what helps everyone learn together, that we are not, what's the word? We're not above anybody else. We're right there in there learning with you, just like we're teaching you, you're teaching us at the same time. I've been through a lot of different trainings where that's not true. And so I don't know if it's true how many trainings, but I think we are unique, weird, because of our ability to connect, really connect.
On that note, I think also what makes us weird is, I mean, what it's many times where I have gone, hey, I apologize for this, and then it was like, stop it. Is like, we don't have territory, really. Like, everybody's sort of like, come on in, let's help, let's see how this goes. And there's like this very open vibe there where people aren't like out getting offended or being competitive. It's everybody's sort of supporting one another, and that is not something you find in a lot of businesses. Usually there's some competition type things going on, and I feel like here that we are actually in support of one another, and we want better and best and to help each other more than anything. So,
and in that vulnerability space that Lisa was talking about, I remember, I can't believe it's almost 2 years ago that you and I taught our first level 2 class together in Atlanta. And when we were doing, I don't want to give it away for those who haven't taken level 2 yet, the powerful exercise on Saturday morning. And as we were leaving the next day, sitting in the Atlanta airport, you said, so I felt like you were holding back during that. I was, because I'm standing in front of the class. I'm supposed to be a teacher. And Lisa's like, so I invite you, like, go there the next time. Be comfortable. Go there. See what happens. And I've opened up to that more and more now every time. And just that ability to feel safe in front of the class and just own it, that I don't have to stop at some point. If I start to break down, I can just let it flow and then pull back in.
Go ahead, Lisa.
When we're in that space and students are learning in that space, I'm a little emotional because I remember that, and it was a beautiful experience. And when we're in that space of sharing what we're learning, what we're teaching, what we're learning too, what we're teaching, to be able to jump in that vulnerable place and not have to have that higher space allows the student, at least that's my experience, to trust themselves and be more okay with not doing it perfectly.
Mhm.
That's a huge thing. Yeah. Like there's no such thing as perfect.
But they all want to do it perfectly. They all, want to learn as much as they can learn. And I think that just helps open everyone up as well.
Anyway. Jennifer Snyder, sorry, says, I dress a little funky. I'm super outgoing, approachable, really try to be myself unapologetically. That's what I try to communicate on my website and social media pages. And she said she loved the training, by the way, and she felt safe and able to ask questions. So, yeah, there you go. Exactly what that does. And that's what, so being vulnerable takes some I'm just gonna say it, balls, quite honestly, like being willing to do that and to show those soft spots. And I mean, that's that authentic thing. Like it takes strength, it takes honesty, it takes you just have, it's a willingness that you have to just sort of show this part of yourself that most people keep protected. And but when you do, you can create a tremendous amount of connection and trust with people.
It's authentic love. It's authentic love in the moment.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, go ahead, Dan.
In that same space, what makes us unique is the training comes from a very heart-centered place. I've been through other trainings with other organizations, and particularly their initial modules are very cold and regimented, like learn the system, learn the system, learn the system. And there's not the flexibility and openness to really own the system in an emotional way, where while we still have a structure, it's more free and open to come from the heart in those engagements with clients.
I will say, I mean, outside of the system, even in our own, the one really amazing thing is, and this it spills over into the classes. It permeates throughout, but it starts, I think, here with the people that work here. Is that what we do, and maybe we share how we do this. Is one of the things that I guess it comes from being a coach and being around people who have spent a lot of their lives trying to figure out who they are and how to help other people, and also who embrace their own flaws and their own their own failings, we'll say, and also see and understand that everybody has that in them, and puts the best faith, I guess, and hope in people. So a lot of times in other businesses, when there were moments when something would go awry, somebody would be like, hard line, this is who they are, this is what's going on, blah, blah, etc. And that's just how you handle it. But here, there's always a place of, okay, what's going on with this person? Let's try to understand. Let's figure this out. How are we, what are we not understanding? What are we thinking about? And we always tend to sort of take it to that space first before pointing a finger or being making accusations. And I think that is something that is very unique, because I've been places where that does not exist. So.
Groovy thing is that we all have respect for one another,
and
we all have the perseverance of wanting to connect and get through if there's a conundrum.
So how do other people generate that? Like, what would be your thoughts on, if you're coaching, let's say we're doing team coaching, or
we didn't ask Anthony.
Oh yeah, sorry, Anthony, what makes us unique?
Well, I was gonna sort of jump off of what you were saying. I think sort of the benefits of, or what allows people to be weird or unique and more personable, is sort of a smaller team. And we're a smaller team that gets a lot done. But as soon as the organizations get larger and larger, you tend to interact with people you don't know, and you don't show your weirdness, and they don't show their weirdness, and you tend to think of them less as people and more of like parts of a machine. And sometimes the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and other times you just need to replace a part, and it's kind of impersonal. But with us, it's very personal with all of us, and we hang out on our free time too. At least those of us in the West Coast and the Inland Empire, we do.
I'm giving you the raspberry, Anthony. You just can't see me do it.
But yeah, I think that's probably what makes us unique, as well as sort of a smaller team of people. We like each other. We know each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's important.
I'm sure, you know, if you've been through class with us, you've heard us mention it. We really, that kind of what you were speaking about, Anthony, dovetails into the fact as to why we consider ourselves family. It really genuinely feels like a family-oriented environment, which it's hard to accomplish without that type of vulnerability that we're speaking about. And I agree, it's a very unique space to be in.
And it takes a little while too. Like Jerome wasn't very. I mean, he had to warm up a bit. Like I remember Jerome was more closed off, and he's definitely warmed up and opened up. And I think we all sort of had. It all comes at their own time, right?
That's going to be true of clients, right? Mm-hmm. All clients are not going to be able to be this soft and vulnerable and open, you know, until they get to see some flavor of who you are as a coach, to know that they can just start sharing.
Oh, I just wanted to, on that note, like ask a question if I could, because I was speaking with a client not too long ago about, you know, that process and that coaching and that going deeper kind of technique or thought, where, you know, you start with a very surface kind of goal, but the reality is there's something much deeper. And so how do you manage, I mean, is that something you should expect to always encounter as a coach? Is that deeper, going to that deeper? No, Dan, I see Dan shaking his head. Yes, tell me more.
It's always there. There's always some driver underneath the thing out here. The client has to be ready to go there. They have to feel comfortable with the coach to open up to going there. And the client has to have it's going to sound like a judgmental word. It doesn't, I don't mean it as a judgmental word. The client has to have the emotional intelligence to be able to take that deep dive. And it's something that when I was going through my PCC that my mentor shared with me at one point, as she's saying, as she's reviewing calls, she's like, you're operating here because one of your calls passed already. So I know that you can operate at this PCC level with coaching the who. Just because you're there doesn't mean that all your clients are. You've got to meet them where they are. And some of them might show up at more of the what level, which would be the more ACC level call where we're dealing with the thing they bring in versus the stories and everything else of who they are that's driving this issue.
So just devil's advocate, that could drive a coach crazy if I'm PCC, if I'm trying to get my PCC and all my coaches are ACC or all my clients are ACC level. Like I would be like, what do I have to put out a casting call? Like what do I need to do? Like
pretty much.
Yeah, that are putting together different coaching groups from ICF or spinoffs that they go, I'm going for my PCC. I need somebody that's ready for me to coach at a PCC level. So they will put that out there. And it happens. It gets done. Mm-hmm.
It was a really interesting observation, and it was just mind-blowing.
About how many clients, I'd say out of 100, would you say are at that PCC level as opposed to the ACC level?
When they first start?
When they first start, maybe 5 until we really warm up and get rolling. And then it's 2, 3, 4 meetings downstream, they're opening up, and I'd say it's 75% or so better.
So it's more, it just sort of takes some time because not everybody wants to be that open from the get-go. I mean, I certainly am not comfortable with being that open with people. Even if I'm paying them for my services, I tend to keep things a little bit closed off.
It goes to the conversational intelligence slide that we have in level 1, where we start in that one. Conversation starts at distrust and comes around to co-create. The person calling you to come in probably isn't sitting at distrust because they wouldn't be calling you to engage. There's somewhere higher up on the scale, but they're still not going to come in and just automatically do a verbal dump and share everything in their deepest, darkest secrets.
Unless you're me.
Well, I was also going to say, Lisa, with like couples coaching, like I would assume that one person in the relationship is more distrusting than the other. Do you find that to be the case?
Yes and no. It depends. A lot of the times, if they've done this kind of work in the therapy side of things, somewhere along the line, and I'm not saying anything against therapy, I'm totally for it. Been there, done that a long time ago myself. But they got what they felt as the raw deal. And so they're distrusting in coming into another experience where they feel like they're going to get ganged up on. So when you mention that in that way, there's reasons behind it, not just because we're all new to one another or because of their partner necessarily. So it has to do with their interpretation of what they experienced and how's this, frankly, going to be different. And usually I would say 95% of the time they find that it is completely different because we don't live in that history stuff. They want to catch me up on what they're experiencing. So I call that tap back into the history so that they're sharing with me who they are. But as they start going down the path of exposure, I guess you would say, we have to work on what vulnerability means for them in the session, what happens when so we have to build a boundary just like we would in anything. And in building that boundary, if they keep and honor it, can allow that trust to get moving really fast.
We have a question from a coach, by the way. And she said that she's exploring going deeper, learning the fine line between someone who needs a coach and someone who might need a therapist for trauma and deep wounds. And so she's asking to sort of, if we can expound upon that line, if possible.
So I can tell you with my couples, if they're coachable, they're going to work through things. They might take different speeds at it. They're going to make choices. They're going to choose things to do to forward the progress of their wholeness of themselves as well as their relationship. Someone who I will refer out is not creating the movement that they need to move past, let's call it an experience, then I will, what I call upsell the therapist, because this becomes beyond my scope of practice.
And that's what the one thing is I always want to make clear when we have these discussions is that somebody who has trauma does not mean that they can't be coached. Someone who has had, something happen in their past and been through some sort of trauma does not automatically mean they are only allowed to do therapy or anything of those along those lines. It's just that there has to be a degree of healing and progress that has been made from that trauma.
So sometimes the individual in a couple have decided to trust me in that moment, and they share something that's been traumatic. I honor them and thank them for their trust in me and acknowledge that, I'm thinking of someone, I was the second person that was told about this very horrific traumatic event, and they had never worked on this before. And so that's a really great place to introduce the therapist I referred to. The other person, go ahead.
Is there a clear way to define that line? Because this is, I'm just curious. I know that there is a white paper on this from ICF that goes very.
They can take charge, make movement, they can be coached. If they're stuck and choose to, and I say choose loosely, I don't mean it is what it is. They're stuck in that traumatic event, then we cannot coach that.
If they keep the basic definition, like if they keep going back to the past and keep referring back there, we're not in coaching, we're in therapy. So if they keep jumping in that pool,
it's about moving forward. Yeah.
Even if it happened today, that is today and moving forward. But if it's a traumatic event that they are in, it's not our place to work and operate in.
I mean, being somebody that's been through trauma and has had some and has PTSD, I will say, like, there are certainly things that I know that where I go, okay, this needs to be in therapy, and then, but I mean, I have panic attacks, and but that doesn't mean I can't be coached. It's just, I know what that is in that moment. I've come with tremendous leaps and bounds, and it was actually Lisa's coaching that helped me quite a bit through this, and so I appreciate her for that to the nth degree. So and it was simply her asking, and then I was like, I know what you're doing now. But I'm forever appreciative. So I thank you for that. She said so Jennifer Steiner, to be specific, a parent asked me to coach her teen daughter for depression, but she's having suicidal thoughts and she's referred out. So yes, absolutely. With suicide, refer out. Yes, absolutely, 100 times over. Even with
it's possible that you could still coach the teen, but not on that
topic. Yeah.
In that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another thing is you can always have a therapist, coach, team duo going on. You can, yeah, that's possible. You both can be superheroes together.
It's nice to pair up with a therapist that you can refer to while you're still working with the client on what you can work on, and with permission, of course, collaborate with how things are going. And I say with permission from the client, of course, sign documents.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how exactly would a coach go on to collaborate? Because I'm sure there's some things that I don't know much about the profession of therapy, but there's probably some things you can't say and you have to keep confidential. There's things that you need to keep confidential. Is that something you would sit down, you, the therapist, and the client, and try to hash out an agreement between all three of you?
Possibly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ultimately, it's the client's information, so they have to be on board with the sharing. If the coach and the therapist were ever going to have conversation, that the client needs to agree that they're allowed to, and that happens before we ever have any other conversation.
Or be present. I mean, one or the other. So yeah.
I have more had the client share with me what their experience.
Yeah.
Not that I needed to know, but they wanted to share, so that worked too.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Oh, go ahead. She said thank you for the feedback, by the way. So I'm going to bring it back to a lighter topic because I am. And that's back to our weirdness topic. Let's talk about weirdness one more time.
Oh.
What is the weirdest either thing what weird things have you seen out there for that coaches are doing that you just were like, that is odd? And do you think it worked?
That the one that sleeps with you, coach. The what do they call that? Nighttime coach?
A cuddle coach? A cuddle coach?
A cuddle coach.
Cuddle coach.
Cuddle coach.
That's what we're talking about. Okay.
And you have to sign these documents that it's not anything else. That all is happening is a cuddle.
Is that coaching, technically?
No, I can't imagine how that's coaching.
Maybe the coaching happens while you're like cuddling in bed. You're just like, it's normal coaching otherwise, but instead of sitting in chairs opposite from each other, you're just laying in the same bed with each other.
I can tell you what I did one time that was weird in a coaching session. I don't know. It was one of those long days. Many people came through the door. It was in one of my different offices that we had several offices at the time and a big entrance. And they came in and sat down, and I kind of like, you know how you bump somebody if you're playing with your friend, you kind of do the hip bump. I kind of just hip bumped them over and I sat down and, how you doing? They kind of looked at me and then they started laughing. How do I know I could get away with that? I don't know. I just did. But after I have thought years later, I mean, this is a long time ago. How did I get away? I got away with a lot of that kind of stuff because I am a silly, serious, vulnerable, honest, connecting kind of person. And so that comes up.
Well, I have weird stories, but not so much I'm sure there are ones involving coaching and being a consultant, but I used to teach scare school for 1,000 monsters. So you can only imagine the weird things I did. But what would be funny is we would, you go along, every monster's in their place, and we would come, it happens in every group. There's someone that is just terrified to show you their monster. Like deer in the headlights, terrified, because we're going through and we're seeing how they're doing, we're correcting, we're giving them feedback and stuff. And at that point, my response was always to make the biggest fool of myself possible. And whether it was to like pretend there were no bones in my arms and just flailing back and forth, or just make weird noises, and just try to make myself the complete, like, just whatever the most embarrassing thing they could think of was, and get them laughing. And that then often loosened them up. That, or I would just make them scream at the top of their lungs, and that also helped loosen them up as well. Because a lot of times the folks that are terrified, they just need to get that, like, they just need to get it out, and then get it going. And once they do, they're good. So
with the monster school, that's sort of teaching people how to be comfortable with improv as well.
It is, absolutely.
And if we sort of link that to coaching, as a coach, you're not running off of a script. Like, you have your sort of structure that you follow that you're comfortable with, but you're pretty much improving the entire time. And sounds what
no cookie
said it earlier when she just sat down and hip bumped as an improvisational moment, and it worked. And you gotta, maybe as a coach, be more open to improvising and doing sort of different things, even if you have your comfortable techniques that you follow that you learn.
I think too, it's also like just being you, like being willing to sort of loosen up a little, get loosey goosey, you don't have to be always so button up. And if you show a goofy, real side of you, then others will be more inclined to show their own as well. And I think that that's very important. I know that Dan does it in class. I know that, that's also goes with admitting your failings. It's all these things. It's like, if you show that you are human, others will show they are human. Because then it's like, oh, look they're on that level. I can do that too now.
Actually, that's definitely true, but there's always someone who will look down on it because they were taught differently.
Well,
and we have to be.
That also helps in knowing your audience.
Too.
Yeah.
But Anthony?
Oh, I was about to say, this also helps in knowing who your audience and clientele are.
Yes, knowing who your audience is. Yes.
An executive CEO coach, and you're coaching not to sort of loosen them up, but to, do better in their business and professional environment. They might not like that sort of, loosey-goosey sort of environment.
They still do like the...
Yeah, no, that is...
maybe I wouldn't go up and hip bump them for sure.
Honestly, like, I have worked with executives, and they want that, because everybody all the time around them all the time is like, yes sir, being all buttoned up, and the moment they get around somebody that they feel like they're equals with, you see that walls come down, you see the joking come out, you see the real person come forward, and that's who they want to be around. That's when you get to the nitty gritty, the real person. And so that's where I was always trying to get with my, I was always like, okay, I know if I'm joking around with them, I'm on a good level.
In my sessions, when we start laughing, I know that we're in a healing process, because if they can start laughing through this together, we're going to come on the other side of things and have things start potentially having growth.
Laughter is critical. Dan, you're being awful quiet.
I'm being weird today.
I want to say back to the knowing your audience. I think it's important to keep in mind too, you're not going to satisfy the entirety of even your ideal audience.
Amen. You are an acquired taste.
Being mindful of that really, I think, can help you progress. If we're speaking about being in that marketing space, because if you are to think in that manner, as if you can satisfy everyone, and you tiptoe moving in that way, you probably could be restricting yourself in doing some pretty powerful things as far as your marketing and all that's concerned.
Don't take it personal. If somebody doesn't like you, don't take it personal. I mean, that's really hard to do, because
it's really hard to do. It's one of the 4 agreements, and something that I highlight all the time. It's hard to not take personal.
And I it's queen of, like, I will change everybody's mind. It's also, though, that like, at some point you have to just go, it's okay. If they don't get it now, they don't get it ever. They just don't, they didn't get to see the whole me, or they don't quite understand who you are, and that's okay. They're in a different space. They're off doing whatever they're doing in their world. They're gonna go, that's fine, and just exist in yours and be for you and be for your people. And that's really, I think, critical, because
while that's not weird, it can be weird, because a lot of people will live in that space of that self-judgment, self-deprecation. Did I say that correctly? self unworthy feeling. Go ahead, Dan.
It's easy to get stuck there because that the whole negativity bias thing of focusing on what's wrong and, oh, somebody doesn't like me, and there's like 500 who do. We get focused on the one that doesn't. And the whole idea we've been talking about of don't take it personally. When that person who doesn't get you doesn't become a client, it's the best possible thing that could happen. Because if they do, it's too much work.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's
oh my
so
God. That's the other, I mean, like there have been times I have fired clients. Like I have been like, where it's just been like, I'm not doing this anymore. Carry on, goodbye. Like, just because it's that much work. It's that much, I mean, and it's just like, I can't, this is more taking more out of my life than I'm willing to give right now. And that's okay too. It's like, so you're not always going to gel, and you don't have to fit a square peg in a round hole. You really don't.
Actually, that puts a different twist on this conversation of weird that I think newer coaches really need to hear. Because, and I remember my sitting in that chair early on of like, for next client, gotta get them. It's not about them all the time. It's about you too.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're having that first conversation before they become a client, when they're a prospect and they're wondering about working with you, you're interviewing them too. You're interviewing them to see if they're the right fit. It's not just about convincing and selling them.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're in that energetic of the conversation, it's very transactional, and it becomes, yeah, there is the exchange of money for the work. But if you're not interviewing them and you're not listening to your intuition that we talk about in level 2, be in your, not in your head overload or your heart overload of, I need a client right now. Be in the gut instinct of what feels right, and let that guide you as to whether or not you want to work with this person, because you absolutely have the right to say no.
Yeah,
that's a good example of the abundance mentality.
Yes.
And this applies to like not just coaching, but I think like in dating as well, or friendships. You might come off as desperate or needy and inauthentic if you're just like, I don't care about this person's personality. I just need a client, and that's the goal no matter what. If you sort of believe and also put out there that there's other clients out there is a person who's the best fit for me as a coach, the clients you do get are going to trust you a lot more because they can see that you want to coach with them as well.
So it's not necessarily true that when you get a client and you go, nope, I never, ever have I said it this way. I'm saying it facetiously now. Nope, you need therapy. I had someone get so mad at me for suggesting that they sat there the whole hour, paid the nominal fee because they didn't pay hardly anything. And I basically said, thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing. What you guys are talking about, that is beyond my scope of practice. Here's a gentleman that I refer to. He's amazing. He works much well in this realm. Many of the clients I've sent there have done really well with him. This is, essentially, and she walks to the door and she goes, well, when are we making I go, I can't make an appointment with you. Perhaps after you've seen him for a little while and you want to call me back, you're welcome to. All right, now this is not in my scope of practice. She was mad. She was really mad that I didn't invite them back.
And that's all they can be, though, is mad. Like, what are you going to do about it? Like,
I had one client that I turned away because I felt like she wasn't financially stable. Like it was a moral issue for me, because I was like, I can't take money from you right now. You that money needs to be going towards, and you need a little more experience too. It just was with what we were working on. She just needed more experience under her belt. She was too green, it just wasn't going to work. And she was frustrated that I did that. And she was, but I was like, but I said, go get some experience and come back, and then let's talk. But right now, where we stand, I don't feel right. I don't feel like this is the right fit or the right match. And I still feel right. Like, I'm still glad I did that. Like, I still, there's no regret there whatsoever. Just because, sometimes, I guess with what I do too, it's just, I feel like sometimes people, I just can't take money when that money isn't there. I don't want to put anybody in debt when they're working for me, like with me. Like, I don't want that to happen. And I start to get sort of morally bothered at that point. And I know there are coaches out there that will say, go open a credit card. I cannot be that person. I can't be that person. I just can't do it.
Yeah, we don't want anybody to go. So there's a student a long time ago. He was really gung-ho to do everything right, get the top of everything. He got a really great office space. He thought he had great connections and network. He was in the music industry, and he thought he was going to just be grabbed up and busy. He spent top dollar on everything.
I'm proud of him for his attitude, though. Like, I'm proud of him for that. Like, I got this go-getter.
And then he went bankrupt because whatever didn't happen. And while he did jump in with both feet, I feel like he had some blinders on in the process.
Yeah.
He did not test the waters first. He did not, there's a lot of things he didn't do.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't even.
As a business, you have to do. It's a business.
And I would say too, I mean, obviously, no matter what, regardless of business, the biggest thing with business is surviving is being able to adapt, is being able to adjust. Is if you go into a plan married to anything when it comes to business, besides, I mean, yes, you want to figure something out, figure out what you're selling. There's there's gonna be flex. There's gotta be. I was funny. I recently, my mom saved a report that I wrote from when I was I think I was 18, like just out of college, and I wrote about entrepreneurship. And I used an example of a friend of ours that we knew that had 6 failed businesses, like 6 failed businesses. On his 7th, he was worth $500 million. But 6 failed businesses prior to that. So, and he was just resilient, and that's that flexing and knowing to adjust, and also knowing when to let go of those things and move on to the next thing, and knowing that sometimes you got to let go. You got to let go of that weight around your ankle before it drags you down. So, yeah. But that doesn't mean that, I mean, you can't flex into a new space.
That doesn't mean that we all want any of our businesses to fail.
No, not at all.
We all go in with the intention of it being successful, wanting it to be successful, and doing what we know best in the moment. It just becomes a learning experience, because what we know in the moment is not what we learn down the road necessarily.
When COVID hit, we were in person completely. And within 2 weeks, we were online, virtual. And that was a quick flex and adaptation for us, and not something anybody was used to, any of us. I mean, we figured it out, but we had dress rehearsals, and we had Jerome got brought on as stage manager, and, which is all my theater background coming forward. And then, but we flexed, right? We let go of what was not going to serve us any longer, and we flexed into a new space. Dan, you're so quiet.
It's all being covered. I'm wearing my coaching hat today. I'm doing like my 80-20 thing. But yeah, that was awesome shift. I remember that really well, of going into the space of facilitating online, and I remember us all being nervous of like, how's this going to work? And it's been awesome.
I loved our dress rehearsals. Like, I loved when we were like testing out the things that we do in like class in person. How is this going to work online? Like, those was probably some of my favorite memories.
And the main reason that we kept testing it and trying to do that is because we wanted the same feeling that people were getting in class to translate into an inanimate object online kind of thing. And because of who we are and the effort every one of us put in, and Brooke really got us on that online platform rather quickly as well. It just brought it together beautifully. And the still emotional connection that we all get in the training while learning is still fabulous.
And I will not take full credit for that because it could not have been done without anybody and everybody. And no way. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. So
that transition was the level of flexibility amongst all of us was just out of this world. I think we allowed ourselves to kind of be able to run into roadblocks and not let them scare us. We had the team, and whenever something like that would come up, we had the ability to get over it, get across it. And I feel like in some instances, get excited about the roadblocks.
Oh, I love it.
Hey,
No,
how are we going to get around this one?
That's my jam. Like that is I get like that is what like I get so it's just my dad's the same way. It's like, oh wait, there's a challenge. I'm in. Now it's time. Things are going to get interesting. And so it's very much like the outlier thing. Like it might disrupt the system, but at the same time, you got to acknowledge it. At least in
When live, you spoke about anything is possible, Brooke, which in a sense I believe to be true. I mean, anything is possible.
I think that also adheres to what we're speaking about, our uniqueness, our weirdness, is we are definitely what we practice, we preach, we are that, we are flexible in the moment. We might get scared or nervous just like everybody else, but we don't stay stuck for very long. We're like, right now I have the picture of the Flintstones in the car where they're like doing the it goes to them. So
we have Kat has joined us.
I forgot what your cat's name is, Anthony.
It's just Mama Cat.
Mama Cat.
Didn't name her, but she adopted me. Speaking about COVID-19, I think that's a good idea because like weirdness isn't just an attribute that people have. It's an attribute of the world, and I guess the COVID-19 sort of pandemic was a weird event, and I guess in like academic terms it'd be known as a black swan event where it's just out of the blue, and how people sort of adapt to weird events like that can make it break you. And the more weird and flexible you are and open to rapid adjustment and change, you're far better off, and you can grow from it like we have too.
I'm going to build on top of that and say too, like, yes, it's a life thing. It's also a marketing thing. I've always said with marketing that it's not something you just put in a place and it just goes. It's an eating, breathing, living thing because marketing is based on people. So you have to have like when I'm in the pocket, when I'm on the pulse, like it is like I'm on the pulse of it's the people, it's the audience, and those things that can shift and change and move. And it can move quickly. And so that's why it's important to always sort of be in your business, involved in some way, at least, and on the pulse, or at least trust somebody that can be, because it's critical that somebody is there and understanding what's going on with the people. And that means
we change too. I mean,
yeah, we do.
We as we grow and evolve in our roles as coaches, I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago, let alone even a year ago. That's why the marketing is changing up so much, because I'm not the same person.
And that's what's cool about that is you don't have to be married to anything. Like you don't have to get married to your unique thing.
In fact,
it can evolve. It can adapt. It will evolve. It will adapt. It will grow. It will change. So for new coaches that are like scared, I'm going to be stuck in doing this one thing. I'm not going to get to everybody. You don't know that because you're going to change. Things might change. Things might move. Things might progress. And while we harp on you to pick a niche and stay in one lane, in one spot, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't also be listening and understanding what's going on with yourself and with your client and with everything going on out there too. So final
I've got
thoughts,
to duck
guys.
away.
We're about done. Yeah, so we're all done. So final thoughts. Bye, Dan. Thank you for being here.
See you. Thank you. Be well, everyone. Happy birthday, Brooke.
Thank you. So on that note, final thoughts. Does anybody coach cats? Jennifer Snyder asked. Oh, that's funny. I'm sure somebody out there does. I'm sure there's a cat
trainer. I don't know about a cat coach.
I don't know anybody that we've taught.
I try to coach my cats, but I'm just no good at it. They're just.
We know someone who uses horses as a tool in their coaching.
Yes, we do. We do.
But I don't know if she coaches the horses themselves.
Well, we have people who coach that use dogs as well.
Yeah, it's the oxytocin. All right,
Okay,
so
I'm gonna just so
okay,
you don't see my cat killing herself.
That's a real flexibility, just saying.
All right, guys, so we're going to wrap up. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for watching our loosey-goosey topics. Thank you for interacting with us. Jennifer Snyder, you're awesome. Glad we could help you. And make sure you share, comment, like, all of that good stuff. And check out Certified Life Coach Institute.
And everybody wish Brooke a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Stop it.
Happy birthday.
I'm a nerd. Stop. I'm going to start blushing. I'm going to get giggly, and it's going to be a thing.
You should. We want to see you get blushy, giggly.
I'm already getting blushy.